Okay, so I'd like to talk for a little bit about this sort of wall, wall of things. This is just sort of like an idea wall. I put up things that I've finished, things that I've done, um, ideas I'm still working on. There's a couple pieces of actual artwork, things that I made. There's a couple pieces that are print-offs or just graphic experiments that I've been working on. So over here, that's my current logo that I can't really call it a current logo because I'm not really actively making cards anymore. But um, this was a logo that I created for my. I had a small card business, greeting card business that I was running when I worked at the laundromat, and I sold my cards at the laundromat, and I went to occasional craft fairs. I really need to get off my ass, or half-ass in this case, and actually get around to some small shops in town and see if there's anybody that would be willing to carry them, or maybe start doing craft fairs again. But this was the logo that went on the back of my cards, and that's one of my little mascot guys. Some of these are these are my homemade stickers. This one was homemade. This one was homemade. There's the planet Jupiter and there's the moon. These were actually professionally printed, and I keep a couple whenever I get a professionally printed thing. I always like to keep a couple as like a sample batch, like what was the quality of this print? What kind of paper did they use? How did the colors come out? That kind of a thing. So that's World Planter. Sorry about the flash. That's World Planter, my squirrel. And then that's oh man, what did I name that creature? I had a name for that creature, and now I've forgotten it. But that was from a little head project, kind of a comic I was working on that never really turned into anything. I actually drew one page of that comic, and then it kind of fell apart. Not that it fell apart, but I just haven't been working on it. As I'm sure you'll notice is a big pattern in me. This is an older drawing. This is 2016. This was an alcohol ink experiment on cardstock. Literal just bottles of alcohol ink. Blotched them on there, and then made a star field with white gel pen and hand sanitizer. You can use hand sanitizer to pull up excess ink from paper, especially if you're using alcohol-based inks, and then you can get these cool starburst effects. And then if you put a little point of white paint or gel pen or paint marker in the center of that, you get a really nice glowing light effect. This was a silkscreen experiment. I did a comet with some stars and planets. I ended up drawing in or coloring in the area around it. It was a very, very DIY, very low tech, very rough kind of a silkscreen. But it ended up looking better when I colored in around it. It's very DIY. It's very organic. I kind of like it. I also kind of don't. But I keep it here as an example of things that I've been working on. And then this is another hand cut sticker. For fermented teas, which was my t-shirt label. That I let my domain kind of lapse, so I don't really have a website where I'm selling these anymore, but I did for a while. And then random stickers. That's a sticker from a package that was delivered. This is another print. I have several more of this. This was a styrofoam cut. I cut this into styrofoam, literally like the bottom of, when you buy like meat at the grocery store and it's in those styrofoam trays. I cut the bottom out of a styrofoam tray and I used it to make I pressed a drawing into it, or I drew into it with like a toothpick, no, I think I used a dead pen, like a pen that had run out of ink. But I drew on the styrofoam and then I rolled ink across it and then I pressed it onto paper. This was one of the ones that came out better. There were some that they all looked different. It was wild, and this was actually paint, not ink, but very rough, very, very rustic, very DIY. And there's my octopossum. That's one of my, I guess I'll call it a flagship design. I drew that on my iPad in Procreate using the symmetry tool. But it's basically, it's a compass point with 4 possum heads and 8 possum tails. And then this is a chip bag that I spray painted with dish soap resist. And then this is actually a printout of a drawing from one of my old sketchbooks. I think this was a 2020 sketchbook. That's a hexamelion, so it's a dragon with 4 walking limbs, so it has arms and legs, and then it also has wings growing out of its back. And then this sort of planet or sunburst or starburst, whatever you want to call it, I'm not sure. I guess it's a sun. This was a spray paint experiment, and I'll zoom in on this. I used an old desk fan that I took apart. It was a broken desk fan, and I took the metal part, the cage that surrounds the fan, so you don't smash your fingers in the blades. I took that off and I used it as a stencil for this painting with spray paint on a side of an old cardboard box. This is another silk. Here's some samples of my cards. There's an older mule drawn logo. This is, I titled this Feast of Pomona when I uploaded it to my DeviantArt. It was more of a placeholder title. A lot of these I have placeholder titles for, but I don't really, I don't know, have titles for them. It's kind of strange. But this is a sample of a card. This was given away as an original. I gave this original, I gave the original of this away as a gift to a coworker because she really likes blue jays. This was Crayola marker, colored pencil, and alcohol-based marker, and paint markers. Same with here. That's pretty much my usual medium that I work in is mixed media. Oh, that flash sucks. Mixed media, paint markers, colored pencils, that kind of stuff. I've always loved working in markers, though. Markers are probably my favorite. This is a die subprint of a drawing I did in 2019 that I also turned into cards. This is another drawing from 2020, which I sat on the fence. I didn't do anything with for a long time. The original was also given away as a gift. Both this one and this one were given to the same person. He gave me a couple pounds of venison, and I said, "Well, shit, I should reciprocate." And I did a drawing. This drawing did not take very long. I did that drawing in like a couple hours, I think, maybe a day, on and off, a day or two on and off. I don't remember how long it's been on this one. This one I remember agonizing over a little bit more, but it has a more detailed background. And then this is a silkscreen print that I made fairly recently. I think I haven't tried this screen in a while, but I think I might have ruined the screen because I let the ink sit on it too long. I let the paint sit on it too long. I did it with acrylic paint. But this is sort of a more symbolic. I wanted to make like a banner, like an emblem that you would maybe print on a banner. But this is my Lake Lord with the moon, and that heart actually represents the morning star or evening star of Venus. But it's basically, yeah, this is like the chaos of love and life, and the destroying aspects of, like, I don't even know how to put this into words. But anyway, and here's some more sticker samples. These botched a little bit. The glaze that I put on this to seal it, I was trying different sealing methods for my stickers. It went on a little thick and then it cracked in a couple places. But I painted around it with holographic glitter paint in order to make holographic stickers. These are really thick and chunky. And some of my other holographic stickers that I've made, they stick good for a while, but then they start to peel up off of the thing that I put them on. So I don't know if I'm gonna, how many more, let me see if I can get a better angle on these. I don't know how many of these I'm going to do. They're fun to do, but they don't, if they're gonna crack and if they're not gonna stick, then what's the point? Okay, so what haven't I talked about yet? I got my blue jay, I got my possum, I've got my bucks. Here's my original mule drawn logo, or I shouldn't say my original. At first I had a monogram. Actually, it was this monogram that's on my old business card. I don't know why I put Illustrator on there. I think really what I do is probably more in the realm of design, more so than illustration, because I'm not really telling stories with my art. I would like to be better at telling stories with my art, but I like coming up with little logos and little quick, easy designs. I don't know. And I also still, like I said, I think I mentioned in one of my other videos, I struggle with, oh my god, I struggle. I think imposter syndrome is kind of a fake thing, but I will admit that I do struggle with it to a degree. So, I don't know. I have a hard time calling myself an artist, and mostly because I think about that quote from Hokusai, where he's basically like on his deathbed, and he's like, if I can draw, this guy basically drew every day for his entire life, and if you don't know who he is, he's the one that made the famous ukiyo-e print of the wave, Hokusai's wave, and his last words were like, if I live for 5 more years, or if I can draw for 5 more years, then I will consider myself a true artist. The guy was amazing, but he didn't think of himself as a good artist, which, I mean, I'm not half I'm not worthy to touch the hem of Hokusai's garment, but I think I struggle with the same mentality. I don't struggle with it. I think health. Oh, excuse me. I think a healthy amount of self-doubt is. I think I think a degree of self-doubt is healthy and normal, and you should have a degree of self-doubt. But I also get to the point where sometimes my self-doubt gets in the way of actually doing things, and that's what I'm trying to get away from. I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm an artist, or oh, I'm valid, or oh, my work is good, which that's ultimately not for me to decide. That's for other people to decide. If other people like my work, well, then it's good. Whether I like it or not is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. But I do want to stop my own internal negative self-chatter from stopping me to continue to produce, because it's by producing is the only way that you get better. Doing more of the thing is the only way that you get better. And I want to do more of the thing. And oh my gosh, that flash. So there's one of my older mule drawn logos. This is just tape scraps from spray paint experiments. I love the way these come out. That's a print off of a sketchbook doodle that I was experimenting with. Is there any way I can angle this to make it not glare? These are some more stickers. This one is a little bit distressed. It got some dirt on it that I couldn't get off. This I drew for Eclipse Day earlier this year. It's a red-headed woodpecker. Let's try this. Ooh, no, I'm going to hit the ceiling. Okay. Red-headed woodpecker. And then this thing that looks kind of like a flower, it's an over-exaggerated depiction of the corona of the sun. So I actually could barely see the eclipse that day because it was cloudy here. But we were in the path of totality. And unfortunately, 90 miles away, they did not have cloud cover. And I have family in that area. And we thought about going down to visit them and see the eclipse with them. And then we ended up not doing it. And yeah, so coulda, woulda, shoulda. There's a coyote that I drew. I've referenced just a photo that I found online. But I was trying to get better at drawing canids, and this was a sketch that I turned into some stickers. I also drew some foxes on the same thing. I don't know if I made stickers out of those yet or not. Here's my hummingbird with glitter. I put sparkles on it to give it a cool sheen effect. This is actually a cutout of a card. The card itself got crumpled and damaged, but I cut out the design on the card. I've made stickers and t-shirts out of this bunny. This was a drawing I did in 2020, which was one of the most productive years of art for me in a long time. I'd like to get back to my 2020 levels of production, but part of the reason I was so productive in 2020 was because COVID, and we had curfews, and where I was working at the time, the laundromat, we we couldn't stay open our regular hours, and I lost a lot of hours, and I lost some days I had more free time in COVID, as I'm sure most people did, or many people did. This was 2021 that I did this, I think. Yeah, there's the sticker from, this is a sticker mule. I'm a really big fan of sticker mules' production quality. This one, yeah, so there's the original batch number. This was actually a commission, a fox. This was like a winter solstice cross fox. And then there's a blue heron that I drew. This was actually a digital painting that I printed out. I need to finish this. I want to add some vegetation to this, add a layer and draw in some vegetation. But this was a blue heron. This was actually published in the Nature Sanctuary Society of Western New York to accompany an article on herons, or ardeids, which is the heron family. And then this is actually, I drew this in high school. This was from a contest that I won. My opinion is that I was probably the only senior in high school that actually entered this contest. I think it was probably more for, like, kids. I don't know. So I won for there was a category for each grade level, K through 12. And so my art teacher that I had at the time, we were required to enter art competitions. So we had state, local, and even some national level competitions. And so what we had to do in order for our homework in her class was we had to enter those competitions and produce artwork for it. And so one of the reasons I'm so grateful to this art teacher, because when I was in high school, I was entering contests all the time. And I was, I didn't win all the time, but I would either, this one I got first, I didn't actually win any money for this, though, but my school won money. So that was kind of cool. My school won a year's supply of ketchup and also some art supplies, and I think we got a check. And then the year afterwards, after I graduated high school, then they turned it into a scholarship competition. And I was like, well, that sucks. So I didn't win any money for myself from this, but my school got some glory, and I have this. This was actually a printout that they made for, they had an assembly at the school when all this happened, and this was a printout that Heinz actually, I don't know if I should be talking about Heinz. Technically, I don't have the rights to this image. The fine print of the contest application basically said that all works submitted become the property of Heinz, and I'd lose the right to reproduce it, obviously, because it has their logo and blah, 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 blah. But they quit the contest, and I don't know, I guess I'm a pirate. But yeah, this was my Art Nouveau ketchup design, and they did a little article about me in the local paper, and I got to be on the local news, and it was like a thing for like 5 minutes. That was this was my 15 minutes of fame. This was when I peaked in high school, and this was when I basically had an existential crisis about my art ever since. Because I'm like, oh my god, if this is my shining moment, then like, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, this was, I have a scan. I no longer have the original of this. I do have a scan of the original, which is on my website, so you can see it there. But this is the one that they actually, so this is how it looked on the ketchup packets. So this drawing was printed on like 16 million ketchup packets in 2007, 2008, something like that. And I never actually, only one family friend actually saw this ketchup packet actually out in distribution. And then a coworker said that he saw one at some point, but I never saw it myself in person, so it's kind of like, if you ever saw this ketchup packet, you basically saw Bigfoot, as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, that is my wall of stuff.